Today is March 26, 2026, 2626, and welcome to the 26th, no, the 485th episode of the So Videogames podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I am the one-man host of the show. I am also the editor of GameCritics.com, a reviews website that scores lower than 8 and offers full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello! Thank you all for joining me today. It is a lovely Sunday morning. I am actually recording when I am meant to record, which is very exciting for me. The wife and I have been struggling the last couple weeks to get back on schedule. If you follow the drama, or I guess just current events or things happening, our son recently moved out to our driveway. He lives in a little RV that's out there. So he moved out, although like 30 feet maybe. And we've been kind of rearranging the house and kind of figuring things out and kind of, getting things back in order. So we're kind of like partial empty nesters. And part of that is just getting our new rhythm back in life. We used to have him in the house doing things, and we would cook for 3, and we would, plan events and plan chores around 3 people. So we're kind of downsizing to 2. And I think we're pretty close to getting it locked in. And so because of that, I am now in the Game Critics West recording studio, also known as my basement, doing the show on a Sunday morning as God meant it to be. And here we are. So that's exciting. Got a nice cup of black coffee here to power me through the show, courtesy of Lighthouse Roasters. Lighthouse Roasters is a local Seattle coffee roastery. They are not a sponsor of the show, although if anyone from Lighthouse would like to sponsor the show, I'd be very open to that. But no, we just get coffee from them. And it's funny because Seattle, was known for coffee for a long time. Maybe it still is, maybe it isn't. But for a long time, it was like rain and coffee and Frasier, the TV show, and maybe Twin Peaks for a while. And I got to be honest, a lot of coffee in Seattle is just absolute shit, just terrible shit. And I blame Starbucks, or Charbucks as we know it around here. Starbucks is just awful coffee. I know that some people, that's their only experience, and they maybe don't have a lot of other custom coffee places or whatever, but Starbucks is gross. It's really nasty, and I don't like their coffee at all. And we always try to find some place local and small to give a different profile. I'm not like a coffee snob or anything. I'm not going to talk about like molecular densities or anything like that. But like, I know what I like. And I like a coffee that doesn't taste too caramely, that doesn't taste burnt, that doesn't have too much acid. And Lighthouse Roasters really nails it. They have a lot of in-house blends that are really good. So when you can drink a cup of coffee black and it tastes real good to you, that's a really good cup of coffee. And if you drink coffee black and it tastes like shit, it's probably not that good of coffee. So just FYI. And sadly, there's very few good coffee houses left in Seattle. I think Portland, Oregon is probably claiming the coffee crown right now. There's a lot of good coffee in Portland at the moment. So I am a little bit jealous that Seattle is no longer the place to go. But we do have a few good places like Lighthouse Roasters. And I'm glad that they're here. Couple other bits and bobs before I jump into things here. If you follow me, well, no, I don't think I talked about it on social media. I think I just talked about it in the Discord. I went to the doctor recently for just like a general checkup, and they recommended the shingles vaccine, which they usually only recommend old people, so I guess that's me. And I've actually had shingles before. I had it when I was about 30 or so. And I don't know if you know what shingles is, but basically it's like the chickenpox virus. If you ever get chickenpox, and I think it's pretty common for people to get chickenpox at least once in their life. That virus lays dormant in your body, and sometimes it just lays dormant forever and nothing happens. But sometimes that chickenpox virus reactivates and it fucks you up. It invades your nerves, and it's so incredibly painful to have shingles. I had it when I was 30. I don't know why I had it. Probably stress induced or something. At the time, we were like really like tight on money and living hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. We were even going like to the food bank for a while because we just like didn't have any money and we were so broke. And I'm sure that's probably when it was. And so when shingles activates, it just hurts like crazy. Like all your nerves are super mega, like so sensitive that like a puff of air on your skin hurts. Like it's painful. Everything touching your skin hurts. Like when I woke up that morning that I had it, I thought I had broken all the ribs on my right side of my body. Like it felt like I had been in a car crash or something. and I had just woken up, and I couldn't walk, couldn't stand up. Like, it was just crazy painful. So I don't want shingles again. Like, and I don't recommend anybody get it. Shingles is like hands down, the most painful thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. So they're like, shingles vaccine. I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't want that again. So they give me the vaccine. They did not tell me that there can potentially be some very serious, but temporary side effects. Like you get injected with a vaccine. They give you a dead form of the vaccine. Your body fights it, and then you move on. And normally it's fine. Like, I get the flu vaccine every year. I've gotten the COVID vaccine every time they offer it. I am a believer in vaccines. That's real science. That's real shit. But they didn't tell me how strong the reaction could be. So I got the shingles vaccine, and it hurt going in, like where they injected the site. Really painful. I'm like, damn, that one actually hurts like a lot. So I was like, okay, whatever, fine. I get home, no big deal. The next morning, I'm feeling like maybe not so great. Like, I'm feeling cold and a little shivery. And I'm like, oh, man, okay, it's got to be the vaccine. This feels like crap. Did my normal thing, walked around, and by about noon, I was like, holy shit, I can't stand up anymore. I need to lay down. And I had, like, no amount of blankets would keep me warm. And I was shaking, and I was sweating, and I had a headache. And I was like, I swear to God, I think my eye was even blurry. And I was like, I'm dying from the shingles vaccine. And I was knocked out I lost like an entire day to the shingles vaccine. And I mean, I'm glad I get it. I'm still a believer in vaccines. I just wish I had known, right? Because it's very lucky that I didn't have to go to work the next day. I didn't have anything important. I didn't have to drive anywhere. Wasn't going to operate heavy machinery. I mean, if that could have been a pretty serious thing. Like, if, maybe my kid was getting married the next day. You don't know. Like, you don't know what's going on. You should have told me that it's been so serious, and I could have planned accordingly. I still would get the vaccine, but I would know, okay, don't plan anything the next day. Just get a bunch of orange juice and chicken soup and movies lined up, and then that would be my day. But holy crap, got knocked on my ass. I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to record the podcast this weekend, but thankfully it lasted about, I don't know, more than 24 hours, but not much more than 24 hours, maybe like a day and a half. And I'm feeling much, much, much better now. So I'm glad I'm got back to recording the show and back on my feet and seeing straight again. And whoo, again, I still believe in vaccines, but boy, like, next time you get a vaccine, ask them ahead of time, yo, what are the side effects? Is this a strong one? Like, what's going on? All right, last little bit of stuff to kick off the show here. A lot of people know, and I've said many times, that in my outside of the games world life, I am a sign language interpreter. I'm a professional, national level sign language interpreter. I'm an expert at it. I teach it. I've been doing it for 30 years. It's my jam, I guess. And a lot of people have been asking me my thoughts on the new Disney ASL songs. Now, if you haven't seen this, Disney, the company, I'm sure you've heard of them, have taken a bunch of clips from 3 of their movies. It was, oh gosh, I can't remember what it was. Anyway, one of them was like Frozen, I think, and the other one was, oh gosh, I can't even remember, Encanto, and there was one more, whatever. Anyway, they took songs from these 3 movies, and they hired some deaf performers, and they did a bunch of stuff, and they took those songs and made it so that those characters, the animated characters in the movie, are now singing and signing at the same time. So you can go look at this. I think it's available now if you have Disney Plus. If not, I mean, it was like all over social media. I'm sure you could YouTube it, people's reactions and stuff like that. So people were asking me, Brad, what do you think? You're a sign language guy. Is this awesome or what? What do you think? And I'm like, I mean, yes and no. So let's talk about the good first. I think any kind of accessibility is great. So traditionally, historically, deaf people have I mean, I'm sure they've laughed, but they have lacked access to many things, to music, to movies, to TV shows. I mean, it is within my lifetime that closed captioning was invented. I do remember a time when there was no closed captioning at all. And, you'd watch TV and there'd be no captioning. So anybody deaf watching that, too bad for you. Hope you can lip read. And actually, lip reading doesn't really work, despite what people say. So you were just kind of playing, guess what they're saying and try to figure it out by context all the time. Those were dark times, right? And so any kind of access, I think, is great. And we've got so much technology. A lot of it's being used for evil, but we can still use a lot of technology for good. And so having this sign language mapped onto these animated characters to perform, I think is pretty cool. That's a cool idea. It's a cool idea. I'm glad that somebody did that. I'm glad that they're exploring it. So yes, on the whole, I think that this thing existing is like net positive. Now, I'm not overjoyed, and I'll tell you why. Number one, can't understand a fucking thing they're saying. Absolutely can't. I am an expert. Not trying to toot my own horn, but I am a fucking ass expert at sign language, and I can't understand what they're saying for a couple of reasons. Number one, songs and sign language don't necessarily go hand in hand. I mean, you can do performances of sign, you can interpret songs, but the languages don't map one-to-one. ASL is just not English, and English is not ASL. And so you have to do some accommodations when you do the language translation, just like you would translate any other language, French, Japanese, Italian, whatever. And so without doing much more work on that, it doesn't quite make sense. Also, the way that they film these shots, these shots were not filmed for ASL. Now, I'll tell you what I mean. I've worked with many deaf actors, many deaf performers. I've worked on movies. I've worked on stage. And when you are doing sign language in a place like this, or like on a thing like this, you have to position yourself differently. You have to turn more to the audience. You have to have the camera in a place so that you can see not only the hands, but also the face, and they have to be legible and clear. It's just a whole different way of making a movie or a TV show or anything like that, staging a play, whatever. And so because of that, these particular clips are not turned toward the audience. They are just doing the motions that they did in the regular movie. And so they're not always facing the camera, so you can't really see them. So I think the language translations, honestly, are not great. And I think that the way they're positioned are not great, and it's hard to see these things. It's not clear at all. So is it cool? Sure. Is it also kind of like disability porn? I mean, maybe a little bit. I think accessibility is great, but if you're going to do it, I think you should do it right. And I feel like it could have been done better. I'm gonna backseat quarterback on this one. Because I actually do this work. I do translate songs. I actually do film things. I do produce things for ASL. And so watching this, I'm like, this is really cool, but I can see lots of problems with it. And I guess my real ultimate problem is, like, why are you doing this? If it's to bring awareness to deafness, I mean, I think that's great. If it's for the kids, maybe not great because the kids can't understand it. Kids, if you're making this for kids, if they're your audience, and I think most Disney films, the audience are kids, you cannot understand this. And so what lesson is it giving to kids where they can't understand the sign language on screen? I don't think it's a good lesson. I mean, what is it even telling them? Am I dumb because I can't understand it? Is my language not good because I can't understand it? Clearly it's Disney. It's perfect. It's beautiful. How come I can't access it? I feel like that's going to be ultimately a negative message. So I know that Deaf West Theater in LA was involved in it, and there's a lot of really cool creators over there, and no shade to them, but also I have to just say, like, my reaction to it is really not that great, and I wish that it had been done a different way. So I don't know. There you go. That's my take. It's good and bad. Good for awareness. The actual product could have been a lot better. Pretty disappointing, honestly. So there you go. That's my opinion on Disney ASL for all the people who were asking for it. Quick side note too, I know people in the past have asked me about the HBO captionings, or not captionings, but ASL. In case you don't know, HBO Max has also been doing a lot of sign language for big movies. I think the last one they did was Sinners, where they got a bunch of people to do sign language for the movie in lieu of captioning. Again, very cool, but also really poorly done. Watching it is not good for a number of reasons. I think the biggest reason, though, is if you've ever watched a movie from a foreign country, and it's dubbed, they always have different voice actors for the dub, right? Like you watch anime, or you watch some kung fu flick, or you watch sci-fi or whatever from some other country, and you watch the credits. They have just as many fucking voice actors as there are characters on screen. And sometimes you'll get like one character or one voice actor who does like 2 or 3 voices, but they sound different, right? They're acting different. They sound different. When you look at these ASL versions that HBO does, they have like maybe 1 or maybe 2 people doing all of it. And I'm like, that's just not enough. Having one voice, one quote unquote voice for the entire movie, even 2 quote unquote voices for the whole movie. I mean, can you imagine watching a movie and like half the voices sound exactly the same? Doesn't make any fucking sense. So why would you do it with sign language interpreters? We have a long way to go. Do I have thoughts? If anybody listening wants to fund me, I've got plenty of ideas. I've done some mock-ups, I've done some demos, I've done some work in this field. If anybody wants to fund me to do more work, I'm happy to do that. Get in touch. I can definitely make this better for sure. Okay, anyway, moving on to game shit. Housekeeping. I didn't get the housekeeping section ready. Assassin's Creed Black Flag is a thing that's confirmed. It's coming. That's amazing. I think the price of Game Pass has dropped. I saw somebody listing the accomplishments of Asha Sharma. I believe that's her name. Apologies if I got that wrong. The new head of Xbox Gaming. We were all very defensive because she was coming over from like Instacart or some shit, and I guess she's not a gamer, and I guess she's not in gaming at all, but apparently she's doing really well. They listed off like 8 or 10 things she's done that have all been really pro gamer. She lowered the cost of Game Pass. She changed it back. Instead of Xbox Gaming, it's just Xbox. She has made assurances that they're not going to lean into AI slop, a few other things like that. So, I mean, it seems like her head's on straight, and it seems like maybe she knows what she's doing. So, okay, cool. I mean, I had my doubts because I didn't think that anybody coming from Instacart would know much about games, especially if they're not a gamer. But maybe she's done her homework. If so, then my hat is off to her. So I guess we'll see what happens. Anything else in housekeeping? Nah, I don't think so. I honestly didn't really check the news feed this week. Whatever. All right, a couple more things here. Let's see. YouTube still exists for us at GameCritics.com. Videos, go check it out. Eugene's always putting new stuff up there. I don't think we've put any trailers up for a while, but there's always new stuff. He's doing a lot of quick looks. I think he just put one up yesterday. So there's good stuff happening. Also, in terms of GameCritics.com, the website itself, lots of good stuff if you haven't been there in a while. Sister site of this very podcast. We had a Dread Delusion console edition review, which got pretty high marks. We have a video review for Anthem number 9 from Eugene. We have an Unbeatable review. This is a little bit of an older one, but as we say, you know, we do new stuff, old stuff, anything in between. This one didn't get covered, so we decided to cover it now. I think it came out like maybe 6 months ago, something like that. We also had a Legacy of Kain Ascendance review from Constantine. Did not care for that one, although he was a fan of the IP itself. So he was happy to see it come back, even if the developers didn't quite nail it. So we've got that stuff up. Published that last week and a bunch of other things as well. And our archive runs like, I'm not even kidding. I think our archive is probably like 50 or 60,000 reviews, if not more. I mean, like, we've got shitloads of reviews in the thing. Like 10,000 of those were just for me. So there is a lot of stuff in the archives going all the way back like about 26 years. So feel free to pop on over to GameCritics.com and see what we've got there. And just a quick heads up that all the costs of this podcast and sister site GameCritics.com are paid for out of my pocket. This pocket, right here. If you love the show, you love the website, you love either, you love both, I would invite you to chip in and help me keep everything running. If everybody listening or reading would chip in just $1 a month, just one, every expense for everything would be covered. And if you can afford it, I would sure appreciate it. If you're feeling supportive and would like to donate, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. All right, folks, let's get down to it. Let's see. Let's kick this off with some circle backs where I circle back to things I've covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to get into all the details again right now. Just think of this as a quick update to let you know if my thoughts have changed on something for better or for worse after spending more time with it. First up, just a quick circle back to Lucky Tower from the people who made The Longing. Got to be honest, I haven't made much progress with it, and I haven't really played it a lot. It's very obtuse and difficult, and that was absolutely true of The Longing. And so I've popped in for a minute, and I'm usually like, oh, I'm too tired for this, or like, oh, I'm annoyed right now. So I haven't come back to it. I will definitely come back to it, but just it's still on my radar. It's still on my radar. Haven't gotten rid of it. I have not deleted it. It's still there. I still want to give it a shot. Also, circling back on Pragmata. I feel like I'm in the home stretch on Pragmata. This is the third-person action game from Capcom starring a guy in an astronaut suit and a little android girl who looks like she's about 6 or 7. And they're a team, and he's on the moon shooting robots because they are out of control with their 3D printers. And it's been pretty good so far. It's been pretty good. I will say that the overall story about like why things are going haywire on the moon, is just not clicking. It's whatever. I mean, who cares? Out of control robots. I mean, okay, whatever. But I think the writing for the characters has been fine. The little girl android, her name is Diana. She's cool. I mean, she's likable. She's cute. She's cute in like a wide-eyed young child discovering the world sort of way. The writing for the guy, his name is Hugh. Is that his name? Fuck. What is his name? I just think of him as astronaut guy. I think his name is Hugh. He's just like, it's pretty standard straight across. The writing is not like really the great hook of this game, but the combat is actually quite good. I think it's like a faster, sped up version of Dead Space. Some people call this game Dad Space, which I think is very accurate. I called it Dead Space Daycare. Basically, like you're shooting robots in a third person way. They often trap you in kill boxes where you've got like a lot of robots in a small space and you've got to use all your tools. You're dashing around. I mean, the movement feels great. The weight of your character feels great. The dashing feels amazing. It's hard to describe, but it's so crisp and peppy that when you're doing the dashing, it just feels like so badass. Like they nailed the kinetic feeling of the dashing. Guns feel pretty good. The shotgun feels amazing. Not every gun feels great, but like the shotgun feels great, and a couple of other guns feel really great. Your standard revolver feels really good. So you're just killing a bunch of robots in a bunch of rooms, but it feels so pleasing to the hands that it's just a really good time. Graphics are super tight. They encourage you to do a lot of exploration, which is interesting. You don't see that a lot in a game of this type, where they really want you to go back and leverage your movement. You have a hover jet and a couple air dash kind of things. And so you can like explore rooms pretty thoroughly. There's always stuff like hidden up above where no human would ever be able to get to it, but you can get there because you've got your trusty jetpack and so forth and so on. So a lot of exploration, which is fine. I've been doing some exploring as I go. I'm not doubling back to get other stuff. I'm just kind of like, I'm here, I'll spend 5 minutes doing it, but I'm not going to like comb the entire game. There's also some VR missions, which are pretty fun if you like doing VR mission type stuff, where they really test you on like mastering the movement controls and the shooting, which has been fun. So I think from a tactile perspective, gameplay perspective, Pragmata is pretty good. I haven't played something as actiony and peppy as this in quite a while. So I think they've got it basically airtight. It's really locked in. It feels good. The hacking that Diana can do during combat gives it a special twist as well. Before you shoot any robots, you hack them real quick and get them to lower their defenses. Otherwise, you're doing just like piss-ass damage on them. So it's definitely important to do the hacking. So I think from gameplay perspective, definitely a thumbs up. Story perspective, whatever. It's like neither here nor there. But I've been having fun. I think I want to say the home stretch. I'm hoping to finish it either today or tomorrow. But yeah, if what I've said sounds good, if you like kinetic action, if you like third-person combat, that kind of stuff, this is great. If you're looking for a wonderful sci-fi narrative, this is not it. But I think it delivers where it needs to deliver. It's keeping me busy anyway. All right, let's get on to the new stuff I've never covered before. This may be a short show. First up, Replaced, playing it on Game Pass. This is the very highly anticipated game coming from, I want to say it's Eastern Europe. I'm not 100% sure because I don't do any research on the show. But this is on Game Pass. 2D, you're mostly walking from left to right. And it's like the story of a guy who's like a researcher. Something happens, accident happens, and the AI that he's working with gets downloaded into his brain. And I'm not 100% sure if the AI is the only person who's conscious in his brain or if his human side is in there as well. But the AI is definitely inside his head, and he's escaping from the lab. You're running away from cops, and you're jumping stuff, and doing a lot of walking from left to right. I mean, the hook to this game, and I think what got everybody excited about it, was the pixel graphics are like off the hook. Like the pixel graphics are amazing. Animation's amazing. Scene setting, lighting, framing is all like really amazing. Like it's very arresting when you see it. Lots of little tricks they do with the camera, lots of camera angles. It's not just a straight on 2D. They do a lot of like blurry camera, shaky camera, tilted camera, camera movement, plus all of this like really like, you know, dripping with gravy 2D pixel stuff. It looks great, but looks do not make a game, and this is the perfect example of that. It's very slow feeling. A lot of the animations feel very clunky. It's not super responsive. It's one of those games where they've got to make you do the jump animation, so you have to push the jump button like 2 seconds before you actually want to jump, which is just ass. Like we stopped doing that a while ago, and there's a reason we stopped doing that. It just doesn't really feel that great. Gameplay just feels dull and empty, and I just can't be bothered with it. I think I put maybe like an hour into it, and I'm like, I've had enough. The story, I'm sure, is going to be hitting the same old tropes as usual. I can't say for sure because I didn't see it past an hour, but I could not put up with the gameplay. Like, at one point, I was in the forest. This is really, really early on, like the first 10 minutes of gameplay. I'm like running through the forest, dodging a cop or something like that. And there's just like a series of logs on the ground that you have to jump over. And like, it was immediately boring. I'm like, okay, I'm just jumping over logs. It's not even like a tutorial. Like, I'm just like, this is the action. And I'm like jumping. And I fuck one up because I pushed the jump button like 1 second too late. I fall down, cop shoots me or whatever. And then I go back to the very, very, very beginning. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. If this is what we're going to do, I'm not here for it. So I bounced pretty quickly. Just another example that, graphics do not make a great experience. It's got to be something good to play. I'll play the fucking ugliest goddamn game in the world if it's fun. I will not play the most beautiful game in the world if it's not fun. And I think that's just the reality of video games. So Replaced, thumbs down on this one. It does not deliver the juice, and I bounced pretty fast. Up next is Gecko Gods. Got a code for this one from PR, so thank you very much. I feel like I talked about this one already, but I looked back at the previous shows, and I guess I didn't. Maybe I just had a conversation with someone, but I feel like I really talked a lot about this game. But anyway, Gecko Gods. This one was like lighting up the indie charts last year. A lot of buzz, a lot of people excited for it. A lot of the good folks over at Game in the Wild were really stoked about it. A lot of the people that I was talking to in my indie circle were really excited about it. So, I was looking forward to jumping into it. Basically, you're a gecko, like a literal gecko, and you arrive on this island, and this island has gods that are also geckos, I guess, and so you need to reawaken them. Don't know why they're sleeping. And so basically what it boils down to is you're in this giant, I don't want to say open world, but like a series of pretty open areas where you're just like exploring as a gecko. And as you may or may not know, geckos are real animals, little lizards. They have very distinctive eyes, big buggy eyes, and they're often colorful eyes. And then they also have these little specially designed fingertips or foot tips, toe tips, tips of some kind I don't think they're actually sticky, but I think they've got like special scales or hairs on them or something about the gecko's finger. It's a reptile, not an amphibian. Something about its finger is really clingy, and they can walk on basically any surface. I'm not sure about glass, but we had them in Hawaii when I was living in Hawaii, and they get on your ceiling, on your walls, all over the fucking place. And that's what is the hook of this game is like you are the gecko. You can climb on basically any surface. So you can go up, down, sideways, around things. And so they use that property of the gecko to create worlds and puzzles where you need to think, in 3D space. Not just up, down, left, right, but like if there's a room above me, maybe I can climb on the outside along the outside wall. Maybe there's a pipe I can go up through. Maybe there's a hole that I can, wiggle around and get in there. So they really want you to navigate around and figure these things out and solve the puzzles. So I think being a gecko in general, that's pretty cool. I think being a gecko is cool. I think the graphics in this game are pretty nice. They have kind of a cool little mellow vibe to the graphics, and I think it just has a nice look at a screenshot of it. You're like, oh, this is kind of cool, kind of pleasant looking. It's nice. But I don't feel like I really connected with this game at all. I didn't really feel much motivation to play. Number one, I think the story is just kind of like whatever, not very entertaining. The gecko itself doesn't really have any personality. It's just a gecko. And just the puzzles I thought were kind of just like blah. And walking, it was hard to motivate myself to just explore the island looking for puzzles. I needed more motivation than that. Wasn't feeling the character, wasn't feeling the dilemma of the sleeping gods. You just kind of show up and you just kind of arbitrarily start doing puzzles because that's what you do in games. So that wasn't really a great motivator. And I will say that I found for a game, I'm trying not to be really rude and dismissive here. But for a game where you're all about being a gecko, the whole point of this game is being a gecko. I was actually really surprised at how many times I glitched out with the camera getting stuck on a wall or the gecko going the wrong way when I was pointing a certain way on a wall, or my issues with the camera in 3D space. This is the entire game. Your entire game is about a gecko. It seems to me like you would design things and spend enough time so that you weren't having like all these glitches, like just weird things happening. And I just felt like between the glitchy behavior of the gecko in tight spots and the weird behavior of the camera in some spots, it was just kind of like fucking annoying. And I was like, okay, this is, I don't know. I guess it just didn't happen. Good idea, cute visuals, but little motivation to play, and just like the glitchiness of the game was like really fucking obnoxious after a while. And I just didn't care enough to want to keep going, so it did not connect with me. But I know maybe if you're a huge gecko fan, maybe you're a reptile specialist, maybe you have always dreamed about walking on walls, maybe this is for you, but it was not for me. Gecko Gods, this one's out of here. All right, moving on, we have Vampire Crawlers. Was mega psyched for this one. This comes from Ponkel, the people who made Vampire Survivors, which is an amazing game, as I'm sure everyone knows by now. Vampire Survivors is the absolute shit. Created basically an all-new genre, which is no easy feat, I will say. Kick things off. Vampire Survivors, the game itself, is fucking dope. I put like many hours into it. My wife was hopelessly addicted to it as well. It's just the ultimate shit. I love Vampire Survivors, and I love Survivors likes. I think that's a really fun genre for me. I enjoy playing it quite a bit. So thank you to Ponkel for that. They announced this one a little while ago, and now it's here. It's free on Game Pass, which is where I played it. Vampire Crawlers is taking a lot of the assets from Vampire Survivors and repurposing them into a dungeon crawler. And I wasn't sure how that was going to work, and now I know. And so what you do is it's first person, and you're in a dungeon, so you're like in 3D space, and you walk step by step through this dungeon. There's a map that shows you where all the monsters are, and there's also a boss monster usually, or treasure chests, stuff like that. So you walk around and attack the monsters, and depending on which character you have, they'll have like little special abilities. The starting character has like extra damage if you use red abilities. I'll get to that in a second. The next character you unlock has an ability where they earn extra experience every so often. I'm not sure what the other people have. There's a bunch. But you have these cards which map to the weapons that you have. So I think my starting guy was the basic whip using guy, who is the stand-in for Simon Belmont from Castlevania. He has like daggers, and it'll be like, use the dagger, and it'll do 40 damage to a number of enemies. So like as you're watching like first person, it looks like Dragon Quest or something back in the day. Like you're looking at the screen, enemies are looking back at you, they're lined up left to right, you're looking head on, and then the attacks come from the side. So like when you throw the daggers will come in from the right side, and they will do like 8 damage per dagger. They'll stab whoever's on the right side. If that person or the monster dies, then the rest of the daggers will hit the second person in the line. If that monster dies, the rest of the daggers will hit the third person in the line, so forth and so on. Kind of similar. Some of the weapons will do like a multi-character attack. Some of them will do a single monster attack. Some of them have other abilities, like the book, which used to be kind of like a defensive shield in Vampire Survivors, kind of hits everybody in a row. The axe, now, what does it do? It's like really high damage to, I think, a group. The magic wand hits one person. So the people at Ponkel have kind of remapped all of the Vampire Survivors weapons into being like different dungeon crawling weapons, which is fine. But like it's really repetitive and it's really grindy. And you might say, well, Brad, so was Vampire Survivors. Well, yeah, it was, but there's a lot of differences, right? So like in Vampire Survivors, you were always having this active threat. You were always moving. You were always reevaluating the battlefield. You were always trying to get away from people. You were always trying to get like a new power up so you could get a little bit more power to survive a little bit longer. Like it was very adrenaline soaked and very frenetic and very kinetic. And it was just like a great time. With Vampire Crawlers, you can take your time, and you're not getting power ups all the time. I mean, you're leveling up, but like you're adding a new weapon or two, but it all feels very static and slow. A little bit like a deck builder, basically, but you're also kind of just like dungeon crawling through. And it just doesn't have the same speed, doesn't have the same energy, but it also doesn't bring anything equivalently powerful, right? Like there's a combo system where each of the cards that you have a points value, 0, 1, 2, maybe more. And so there's a combo if you play them in point order. Play your 0 card, play your 1 card, play your 2 card. So you end up doing shield for 0, dagger for 1, axe for 2. And you get a little bonus from doing that. But there's nothing else to it. Like, that's really the only way to play a combo. Like, there's no, as far as I found, there weren't other things happening, right? And so you just end up doing the same thing over and over and over. Like, you end up doing a lot of the same combat over and over and over and over and over. Not really super exciting. And doing the dungeon, it just felt like you were immediately like on a grind, which could be okay. But then when I got back to town after dying the first time, I think I died. Or no, I finished? Whatever, it doesn't matter. You go back to town at some point, and there's like a shop, and there's like a list of achievements, and there's a few other things. I got to the shop, and I didn't even have enough money to buy even one thing after doing like not even the tutorial run, but the first level run. I couldn't buy anything, and I'm like, okay, this is telling me maybe that the economy is already fucked. I did another run, came back, I bought like one thing. It was like up your attack or something like that, like a little bit. Went back, did 2 more runs, came back to the shop, couldn't afford anything again. If you can't even buy like one thing per run, that economy needs to be tweaked like pretty bad. So I don't know. I'm sounding pretty negative. I'm feeling pretty negative. To be honest, I deleted it off my console. I don't think I'm going to be putting any more time into it, at least not right now. As we say on the show, the best time to play any game is 6 months after release, at least. And I think that is absolutely true for this game. I think that there is potential here. I think the people at Ponkel are smart people. I think they've crafted a masterpiece in the past. I think they can probably do it again, or at least something that's really, really, really good. I think this is just not there yet. I think the ideas aren't fully fleshed out. I think the economy is busted and it needs more work. I think they need to work on the combo system. I think they need to work on the speed of the game. I feel like this game's going to be great in 6 months or a year. It is not great now, and I'm just not gonna put any more time into it now. I'm not an early access player. I'm not a beta tester. So I will happily give these guys the benefit of the doubt and come back to it at some point in the future. But for right now, Vampire Crawlers feels pretty inert, feels halfway done, and I don't think they really got to where it needs to go. Not yet, but I'm sure it'll get there. I have faith. I have faith in Ponkel. Vampire Survivors is such a tremendous feat. I feel like they can at least scratch some of that greatness again. I have no doubt, but they're not doing it right now. So big pause on Vampire Crawlers. I'll see you in 6 months and we will check back in. All right. Through the magic of podcasting, you did not realize that I went upstairs, kissed my wife, got more coffee, and came back downstairs, but that is exactly what happened. Technology. A couple more games before we bounce here. Next one is called Reptilian Rising. Playing this on the Switch. Got a PR code for this. Thank you very much. This is a turn-based tactics isometric viewpoint game. Y'all know that I love these. These are my bread and butter. And I said on the Switch. Played it in handheld, played it in docked mode, both. This is an interesting one because it seems to be kind of like a non-serious one. And there's an interesting kind of frame to this game. So this is like basically like, imagine just a very kind of basic version of XCOM, and you kind of know what to expect here. Multiple characters, taking turns, action, movement. It's all pretty by the numbers for the most part, but there are a few twists to it. But the interesting frame is that this is a tabletop game, which I thought was kind of cool. So you start the game and you're seeing the perspective of like a human being at a desk, and you're looking, there's like a TV on your desk. There's like some board game and figures. When you get a new character for this game, you open up like a blister pack. So that's really interesting. I like that presentation. It's kind of cool. When you start the game and there is kind of like a time rift happening, alien reptiles have invaded, time travel, different time periods. So it's kind of a big mix up, ostensibly so you can have different types of characters. The beginning tutorial level, you have a girl who looks like a Marty McFly clone from Back to the Future, like riding the hoverboard. You've got a farmer with a pitchfork, and then you've got a medieval knight with a sword and shield. Those are your starting characters. And whenever you summon one of these characters, they come in like they're in like a time bubble. Like the ground of the time period they're standing on warps in with them, and so it kind of gives you like this effect that they're coming in from somewhere else, which is kind of cool. I will say, though, that presentation is not this game's strong suit. graphics are super rough and basic, like really, really, like I'm talking like PS1, PS2 level of roughness and basic graphics. The character models are pretty awful. Very little detail. They're smudgy looking. They're weird looking. Animations are not great. So there's that. And then once you get into playing this game, it does not feel well optimized for the Switch. It really chugs on the Switch. It feels like the hardware can barely run it. And it feels like it should be able to run it, because I've played other games that are like this that run much better than this one. It's got better graphics that have, more under the hood. But this one is just not optimized for it. Not only does it chug in either handheld or docked mode, there's also like this like kind of chunkiness to all of the menus and to all of the steps to it. It's not very streamlined. It's not very optimized. It doesn't flow very well. So for example, it's got a cursor sometimes, but then sometimes you can scroll through the active characters and stuff. So it seems kind of like half and half in how you manage items on the screen. Once you get past that, like you select a character and then you pick them, and then you have to pick like move or action or whatever. It just feels like there's a couple extra steps in when you handle anybody. Couple extra clicks that feel like they shouldn't be there. So that's kind of kludgy. And then I think the difficulty and pacing of this game is kind of off. Even in the very early levels, I feel like it gets pretty hard for a couple of reasons. I think number one, enemies hit pretty hard in this game. I started at normal and then I bumped it down to easy just to see the difference. And it does matter. They still hit pretty hard. But you're taking a lot of damage and your guys don't regenerate between levels. So let's say in level 1, your farmer guy takes a shitload of damage and he's only got like 3 health points left. When you start level 2, he's got 3 health points left, which is like a really rough way to start. So no regeneration between levels. Or maybe you can unlock it. There's a bunch of skills that I did unlock, but a lot of currency, a lot of buildup over time, so I didn't get there. In addition to that, like your guys can die, and when they die, they get warped out of the battlefield, and you have to like resummon them, which is, I guess, okay. But then also you can, if a guy is low, you can send him back into the time portal where he came from, and he will slowly regenerate. It just feels like they're being very punitive and very harsh with the life system, making the game a lot harder than it needs to be, and not in like a good, challenging way, just in kind of a really tedious, annoying way. I will say also the thing that makes it hard is that enemies can warp in like all the time. There's another system. I'm not going to get into all the nuts and bolts here, but there's a system where enemies can just pop in and there's like a time counter. So you've got some time pressure to finish the level, but then also new enemies show up. And so you can't even like sweep the level. Like I think that these kind of games are difficult when you have enemies that can show up randomly. And that's not to say that it never works, but you've got to be pretty judicious about it. And I feel like they're pretty loosey-goosey with how the enemies show up. And so it was kind of screwing up my tactics. And with how fragile your characters are, I think that's a real difficulty that I can't say that I was enjoying too much. So between the kludgy menus, the poor performance on the Switch, the terrible graphics, and the difficulty, I think this game is just in need of some more work. I think there's potential here. I think the idea of time-traveling reptiles and having enemy or, heroes from different time periods. I think the first person I recruited was Cleopatra. She was like an archer. So I had like Marty McFly and Cleopatra and a medieval peasant. I mean, that's kind of a fun idea. Killing evil reptiles, fun also. It number one, it doesn't feel good on the Switch. And number two, I think the game in general just needs some more work. There are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of examples of turn-based tactics out there that you can study from. And I think they try to do something new here, which I applaud and I'm in favor of. I just think it just didn't quite get there, and I think it just needs a little bit more tweaking, a little more adjusting. So probably will not be putting much more time into this one. Check it out if you want something weird, but if you do, I would definitely say don't get it on the Switch. Get it on PC, because the Switch is just not the right home for this game. Probably it feels definitely like it was made for like a mouse, and I think that maybe that's where it should stay. So there you go, Reptilian Rising. A couple good ideas, but it just does not feel like a good fit for the Switch. Last game of the show, Cthulhu, the Cosmic Abyss. This is a first-person cosmic horror-themed game where you play a guy who is... Well, the game starts, he and a fellow, researcher, scientist, they're going to find their long lost friend, somebody who's been living out in a swamp or something, and she disappears. They don't know what happened to her. So you are in first person. Your friend is with you. You go on a boat. You go out in the bayou or something. You find this person's house, and then you like investigate like where she went to. That's only the first chapter. There's more to it than that. Debating how much to give away. Maybe I'll stop right there. But basically, if you know Lovecraft, if you know Cthulhu, you probably got a pretty good idea where this is going. The game pretty soon transitions into an underwater research facility, and then it kind of just goes from there. I will say the graphics on this one, pretty sharp. It's got a nice use of dark, nice, crisp appearance. I like the way that things are rendered. It looks good. Lighting is good. I think voices seem fine. And when you're going to investigate things, it seems pretty open. I know last week I talked about a game where you felt really hemmed in, like it was held over from the 360 era. This one does not feel like that. This feels appropriately modern day, where you can wander. Like when you get to the house, you can wander the whole house. You can look at things. I mean, you can't move every single thing. You can't rearrange all the furniture or whatever, but there's plenty of stuff to interact with, and there's lots of things to look at and examine. So I think from that perspective, it feels suitably modern. And I think in general, it's like a good idea, but I think it falls down in execution for me a little bit. I think, okay, so a couple of things. Like when you're wandering around the house, I think the ability to see things that are important or interactable is a little bit in question. I found that I had to be kind of pixel perfect when I was looking at things. Playing on a controller, playing on my TV. I believe I was playing this on Xbox, if I recall correctly. And I missed a lot of items just because I thought I had my visual cursor on them, but I was like maybe like a pixel off, and it didn't register. And so I would skip it and come back, and I'm like, oh, actually I can click on this thing. So I think a little bit more generosity with how things are picked up, like when things are detected. You know, maybe pushing a button to say, hey, here's all the interactable items in this room, or here's the, you know, just a little bit of a hint. A lot of games have had different solutions for this. And I felt like I hit some difficulty right off the bat because I had to be so exact. And some of the items are kind of small. Like there's some small things that I thought were just like window dressing, but actually no, they're actually things you can pick up and look at. And so I missed a lot because of my cursor was just not specifically where it needed to be. And that was kind of an issue. Another thing that came up was this is the kind of game where you can pick up a lot of things that are not important. And I am not a big fan of that school of design. You only have, at least in the part that I played, you only had, I think, 5 slots for inventory, which is really small. I think they're assuming that it's like what you can actually carry as a person, which, I mean, makes sense. But there's just like way too much shit you can pick up. And I had my pockets full of junk right off the bat, and I wasn't sure what was important and what was not. And so that was kind of a problem. I prefer things to be a little bit more pared down than that. Maybe is it less realistic? I mean, I don't know. I'm playing a Cthulhu video game. How realistic do we need things to be? Is it really that far-fetched that I can carry 10 things instead of 5? I mean, I don't know. So that was kind of a thing as well. I will also say that I just wasn't, I mean, I think probably because of the cursor issue and the lots of junk issue, one of the very first puzzles I struggled with, like, I think it was like literally the first puzzle because I kept missing something that was in the room with me and I just didn't notice it. And so I stumbled on that for a while just because I didn't have it. And this game has a couple of weird systems. There's this one thing where you have like a radar that works on frequencies, and I gotta be honest, I didn't fully understand it. They try to have you use it, and I'm just like, hey, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Where it's like I picked up a rock, and they're like, attune the radar to this rock frequency, and then you ping your radar inside the house, and it shows you all the different rocks inside the house. And there was actually lots of rocks inside the house, and I was like, this is whack. Like, it's very kludgy to use, a lot of extra steps, a lot of very cumbersome. It just felt very not good and not intuitive to use. So that radar system I wasn't a fan of. There's also a clue board where you find clues that have you do a lot of reading, and way too much reading, I think. And they teach you how to use like the mind palace that we've seen in many other detective games, where you have a clue, it goes up on a mental chalkboard or cork board. you pin a thing, and then you can connect clues and put one clue that you think is a solution, another clue, just another kludgy system, like on top of the radar system, which was already kludgy, which was already on top of the inventory system, which I felt like was not great. And so using the clue system was like, oh man, okay, a lot of reading and a lot of stuff to do here. And I didn't even understand the very first example of it. They wanted you to solve this really basic introductory, this is how you use the system. And it's like I solved it, but only because process of elimination. Like I didn't understand what it was, like in the text, what the trigger was. I just wasn't on the level. I guess my brain pattern was not working the way the developers expected. And so I just did not grok what they wanted me to do. So I finished it just by trying every single thing, and I eventually got the right one. I'm like, okay, that worked. But that was not great. So I'm already feeling like there's multiple overcomplicated systems that are very unintuitive and very unfriendly to use. Just a lot of cruft that doesn't need to be here. Like I was liking just walking around and being in the environment, feeling a little creepy. And simple puzzles is fine, but like, not too much reading and not too much like mental deduction like that. So maybe that's just a personal preference thing. I'm sure it is, but just, so those things were not working for me. On top of that, I had some technical issues. Pretty soon after starting to play, the sound glitched out and it was like really choppy. It sounded like they was talking like this the whole time. And that was like really fucking annoying. I had to like exit out and restart the Xbox to do that. And then later on, that happened actually multiple times. And then later on, I could not quit to desktop on the Xbox. Something about the game had disabled that function. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? And I wasn't sure if it was my Xbox, but I got out of that game, had to turn off the whole Xbox, came back in, started up a different game. That worked fine. Started up a second game. That worked fine. So it was only Cthulhu, the Cosmic Abyss, that borked that functionality. I'm not sure what happened. So between the technical issues, the sound issues, and then just like the multiple systems that weren't working, I'm like, okay, this is not going to happen. So I think, Cthulhu games are great. The graphics on this one, the mood, the vibe, I think was on point. I like the approach. I will also say, quick side note, in this game, you have an AI which talks to you, which I'm already kind of like, I've already got enough AI in my life. I don't need any more, don't want any more. And it talks to you. And you can also, it is also the hint system, which, to be honest, I felt like a little philosophically opposed to, because if you get stuck with these clues that are pretty oblique, you can ask the AI and the AI will like process and give you a hint for this. And I'm like, kind of fuck off with this. Like, kind of fuck off. We already have AI wanting to like summarize and write emails and basically strip us of our human autonomy and do all the things that our brains can already do. And having that be the hint system I found was just like really obnoxious to me. But you guys know I'm like fundamentally against AI in basically all its forms, for the time being anyway. And so I found that really just like repellent, and I kind of resented that it was here. Not a big fan of that one. So Cthulhu, the Cosmic Abyss did not work for me on multiple levels. If you're looking for a Cthulhu adventure, it's always great to have Lovecraft type stuff on the market. But for me, I am out. All right, folks, game portion of the show is officially done, but every week I do spend a few minutes in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That is right. It is time for the TV and movie roundup. First up, watched a movie on Amazon Prime. It was free with Prime, called Departing Seniors. It was pretty good. It's a low budget, I don't know, semi-indie jam, I guess. I didn't recognize a single actor in the entire movie, but the cast was great. I thought every actor did a fantastic job. The story is about a gay senior in high school who is having a rough time. He sustains an injury, and the injury gives him psychometric powers, which means he can learn information by touching certain things. And so by doing this, he realizes there's actually a killer at the school that no one knew about. And so he goes to try to track them down and solve the case. Good writing. I think the writing was really real and fresh and felt good. I think the issues they brought up about being gay in school and just like high school in general and that kind of thing were real. Again, great performances. The story itself was nothing like groundbreaking. I mean, we've seen many films that kind of follow this template, but it was just really well done. It was really fun to watch. I think the jokes were good. The acting was good. Really well done all the way around. I think this was excellent. So Departing Seniors, the wife and I had a great time with it. I would definitely recommend it if you were in the mood for something like that. And again, free on Prime. So right on. Next, we watched a movie called Mr. K. This one is absolutely not for everyone. Warning, it is not for everyone. I'm not even sure who it's for. Was it for me? A little bit. Was it for my wife? A little bit. It stars Crispin Glover, who looks great for his age, by the way. I think the dude is like 65. He looks fantastic. I'm like, damn, Crispin, you looking good, my friend. So this is a kind of like art house vibes, abstract visual information film where he is a magician traveling somewhere. He arrives at a hotel. He needs a place to stay for the night. And it's this giant, fucking crazy ass massive hotel in the middle of nowhere. He stops there for the night, gets a room before he continues on his journey. But as he gets there, he realizes he cannot leave. And the hotel's rooms and hallways are connected up in ways that don't make sense. Like you go into his closet and there's like another room in there. And then you get in the hall and there's like this other hall. There's weird things happening. There's like a marching band that like prowls the hall. There's like people who seem like they're from different time periods. It's just really, really weird and bizarre. Not scary. It's like zany, weird, twee a little bit perhaps. Very unsettling and strange. Very, very abstract. But I will say those kind of films are not normally for me. But in the trailer of the film, I did get a little bit of Lovecraft vibe, and that did absolutely play out. So I'm not going to spoil anything, and I will not talk about anything other than what you can see in the trailer. But yeah, there are some Lovecraft elements, and I would say that ultimately this film ended up being something like kooky or cozy Lovecraft. It's not the traditional Lovecraft story, but I did like where it went. I liked how it worked, and I think it all came together really well. And it's odd and weird and quirky. And again, not for everybody, but if you're in the mood for something Lovecraft, but also not, this is absolutely up your alley. So check that one out. We ended up liking it, but it was definitely fucking weird. And I could easily see a lot of people not liking it. So I don't know. Your mileage may vary. Final thing to discuss, Star Trek Discovery. I can't remember if I talked about watching this one or not, but the wife and I just finished season 1 of Discovery. We watched Starfleet Academy, which we loved. And the wife is not traditionally a Star Trek person. Normally that was me and the son, but since the son moved out, I needed a new Star Trek buddy. And the wife was willing to go join me on this journey. And I think that she is more accustomed to the new stuff. So we started off with Starfleet Academy. She thought that was great. She liked it a lot. We went back to Discovery, which has Sonequa Martin Green as lead character Michael Burnham. And they are on a special ship. This is a weird series. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this is a really weird series where I feel like the people who were in charge of it were trying to like make something new for no reason. And I'm not saying that I don't like new things. I do, but there's like 60 years of Star Trek canon available. And I feel like they kind of threw some of that out the window for no real reason, no real benefit. And I think that was a mistake. And I think the fans let them know that was a mistake. And then they quickly course corrected. So for example, this is supposed to take place before original Star Trek, like before Captain Kirk and all that. But when you look at their ship, the design is like super advanced. They've got a lot of technology that Captain Kirk never had. They have like holograms, and they have like this like special warp drive. It's called the Spore drive because it uses, I mean, believe it or not, it uses space mushrooms. I'm not even joking. And they're like these mega powerful space mushrooms, and they can warp anywhere. And also like it seems like they can do alternate universes and like in time as well. And so none of that stuff like really existed in the Star Trek timeline. So they're kind of jumping the gun. I think if they had set this series in the future, they would have sidestepped all those problems and it would have been fine. But they decided to make it a prequel, but it just didn't make sense as a prequel. I think maybe part of the reason they wanted it to be a prequel was because they wanted to tie it to established characters, but I think that was a mistake. Specifically, and this is not a secret, this is not a spoiler. So main character Michael Burnham, in the very first episode, they reveal that she is the adopted daughter of Spock's dad, which means Spock is her adopted brother. Okay, Spock in 60 years of Star Trek has never even once alluded to having other family members. Not direct family. Like I think in the animated series, they talked about his cousins and stuff like that. But they only ever talk about his dad and his mom. And so to all of a sudden say, oh yeah, BT dubs, I haven't mentioned it in 60 years, but I actually do have a sister who's human. That was weird. So I don't think they needed to make the connection to Spock. Her being Spock's sister doesn't really add anything. She could have easily been adopted by some other Vulcan family, because her being culturally Vulcan is a big part of the show, which is fine. But having it be Spock's dad who raised her is fucking stupid. That did not have to happen. And there's a couple other ties that I think don't really make a lot of sense. So that was kind of a fail. Also, the show in the first season completely revamps every single thing we fucking know about Klingons for basically no reason. They don't even look like Klingons. They could have been called any alien race in the universe, and I would have bought it. But they call them Klingons. They look like weird, bald fish people with weird noses, and the armor is totally different. Their ships are totally different. It's like they just threw out 60 years of Klingons. And I realize that Klingons have looked slightly differently in many different iterations, but like, they're not recognizable as Klingons. The language does not sound like Klingon. Their ships don't look like Klingon. You could have called them anything. They could have been the fish people from Mars 2, or they could have been, I don't know, the Spanks and Buckies, or they could have been anything. Who knows what? They didn't have to be Klingons. And so, like, the directors and the showrunners made a lot of real fucking stupid mistakes. I believe they course correct in season 2. We're just about to start season 2 tonight. But putting those mistakes aside, and they are mistakes, I think they are genuinely like fundamental mistakes. I think the show is kind of interesting. It really focuses on one character rather than being an ensemble show, which is different for Star Trek, but I think it's okay. I think main character, she's a good actress. I think she's got some potential. There's some cool moments. There's a lot of like ship-to-ship combat, and there's some exciting fights and stuff. So they jazz it up a little bit. I think it's good so far. Good-ish. And the wife wasn't sure what to make of it at first, but I think she's on board now. Same for me. It's just weird to get past all those strange, very obvious stumbles. But I think we're looking forward to seeing where it goes now. So still hanging in there. Star Trek Discovery, pretty rough first season. Really rough. Like very, very rough first season. But we'll see where it goes. And it went for 5 seasons, so I guess it eventually picked up. So anyway. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, we'd love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, but most important of all, please recommend the show to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And as always, we'd love to get your questions and comments. Hit me up directly, SoVideoGamesPodcast@gmail.com, or on social media. I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BRADGALLAWAY. All A's, no O's. Hit me up also in the So Video Games Discord, which is totally free of charge. Drop me a line through any of the channels I just mentioned, and I will get you on board to continue the conversation. And finally, if you like this episode and you want to hear more, you can help support this show and also sister site GameCritics.com by going over to patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. Every single dollar helps, and €1 helps that much more. All right, folks, that's going to do it for episode 485. Thank you again for joining me here on the So Video Games Podcast, and I'll see you next week.